The forest was silent, save for the whisper of leaves brushing against one another. The full moon illuminated the clearing in silver, reflecting off the dew-soaked grass and casting long shadows that seemed to move like living things. Serafina pressed herself against the trunk of an ancient oak, heart pounding, lungs burning as she tried to make sense of the events that had brought her here. Her hands shook, gripping the knife she had carried since leaving the village. It was sharp enough to cut, yes, but against a full-grown alpha, it was meaningless. Yet she clung to it because the truth she carried was far more dangerous than steel. Alpha, Kalen, had ruled the northern pack for more than a decade. His reputation stretched beyond the forest, whispered among hunters, rival packs, and humans who dared enter his territory. Merciless, calculating, unyielding. A wolf who could walk among humans without lowering his predatory gaze. And now, somehow, he had learned a fragment of the truth. Serafina had hidden this secret her entire life. It was a truth that could destroy him, or ignite a war, a truth that bound them together, whether she wanted it or not. She remembered the moment he had entered the clearing, his golden eyes locked on hers, calm yet filled with the power of storms held in restraint. "No words, no warning, just presence you shouldn't hide," he said quietly. "I can smell the lie in your blood." Her breath hitched. How could he know? I didn't," she stammered. "You did," he interrupted, "but you'll tell me now, or we both bleed for it." The knife felt heavier in her hand. The bond had not yet formed, yet it pulsed faintly between them, a subtle tug she could not ignore. Kalen was not yet hers, nor she his. But the connection was undeniable, like gravity pulling her toward a cliff. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If I tell you, if you truly know, you won't just be angry, blood will be shed," Kalen finished for her. His lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but not cruel either. "Yes, I know exactly how much is at stake." The truth hovered in the space between them, heavy and dangerous. Serafina's secret was not just hers, it belonged to the pack, to rival packs, and even to her own family. It could topple the balance of power that Kalen had fought to maintain, and he knew it. "You should leave," she whispered, trembling. "Before it's too late." Kalen's eyes narrowed. "Leave, and let you carry this burden alone?" "I can manage," she said, voice cracking. "I've managed for years. Years of lies," he said, stepping closer. "Years of hiding from the only person who could protect you or destroy you." Her hand shook, and the knife fell with a soft clang against the stones. "You're serious," he murmured. "You're not afraid?" She swallowed hard. "I am afraid, but the truth is heavier than fear." Kalen's gaze softened for the first time, yet the intensity never left him. "Then tell me," he said, "before someone else learns it first." Serafina took a deep breath. The moonlight reflected off the edge of her eyes, making them glisten. I'm not just human," she confessed. "I carry the blood of the old line. The line your enemies thought extinct. They would kill anyone connected to me, anyone near me. And if you knew the full truth, Alpha, you would understand why your enemies will come for me, and why your pack is not safe." Kalen's jaw tightened, his golden eyes narrowing. "And you hid this from me? From the pack? For how long? Since I was born?" She whispered, I thought I could survive without it being known." He exhaled slowly, jaw clenching. "And now it's revealed. Now the blood is promised. Now the vengeance will follow. And I—" He stopped, his hands balled into fists. "I will not let them take what is mine. But you must be ready for what comes next." Serafina's chest tightened. "I don't know if I can face it alone." "You won't," Kalen said simply, "because now I know. And now the promise has been made. Blood will be spilled. For truth, for survival, for us." The wind shifted. The forest seemed to lean closer, listening, Wolves moved silently among the shadows, sensing the change, alert to the tension, the bond that had not yet formed but already hummed with possibility. "This is only the beginning," Kalan whispered. Serafina swallowed, fear and something else twisting together, a dangerous anticipation she could not yet name. "I understand," she said finally. "I'll face it, with you, if we survive." Kalen's lips curved, finally a faint smile. "We will survive, but the cost will be written in blood." The forest darkened as he extended his hand. Not a threat, not a demand, an offer. Serafina looked at it, hesitated, then took it. The moment their fingers touched, a pulse shot through her body, a spark, subtle but undeniable, that connected them before any words were spoken. The Alpha King knew the truth, and he had promised blood, and now there was no turning back. The morning after, the revelation, the stronghold was alive with tension. Wolves prowled the corridors, their eyes sharp, muscles coiled like springs. Kylan moved among them, giving orders with a calm authority that made the pack obey instinctively. Serafina followed, trying to keep up without drawing attention. She still felt the pulse of the bond, subtle, insistent, between her and Kalan. It had awakened the moment she had revealed her secret, binding them in ways she didn't yet fully understand. "Stay close," Kalan said quietly as they passed through the inner courtyard. "I won't allow anyone to touch you, not while I breathe." She nodded, though her heart raced. Every shadow seemed dangerous, every whisper of wind carrying a warning. Kalen's words reassured her, but fear lingered like a shadow at the edge of her vision. By midday, scouts returned, bringing grim news. "Rogue lichens," one reported, panting. "They know about her. They're approaching from the eastern ridge, heavily armed. They've come for the bloodline." Kalen's jaw tightened. "How many?" "Too many to hold in a straight fight," the scout admitted. The weight of responsibility settled over Serafina like a stone. She had hidden her bloodline for a reason, because it marked her, made her dangerous, and now it threatened the pack she was only beginning to understand. Kalen's gaze found hers. "Are you ready?" She swallowed, gripping her hands into fists. "I have to be—" Preparation began immediately. Wolves sharpened claws and teeth. Humans reinforced barricades, and Kalen organized patrols along the ridges. Serafina moved alongside him, observing, learning, and, most importantly, listening. "You must understand," Kalen said during a brief pause, his voice low. "Your bloodline is powerful. You carry abilities you may not yet recognize. The moment they attack, you may need to defend yourself and others. Instinct alone will not be enough." I don't know what I can do," Serafina admitted. "Then learn," he said, quickly. "There isn't time to hesitate." The bond thrummed stronger now, subtle warmth coursing through her chest. It seemed to whisper, offering guidance, linking her senses to Kalen's. She could feel him, his heartbeat, his focus, the faint pull of his will. And though it was frightening, it was also grounding. That evening, under the pale moonlight, the first attack came. Shadows emerged from the eastern ridge, wolves shifting mid-air, claws glinting. Hunters with enchanted weapons surrounded them, seeking to claim the bloodline by force. Kalen's roar shattered the night. The pack surged forward, a tide of teeth, claws, and movement. Serafina stood frozen for a heartbeat, heart hammering, until she felt the bond tug. Guiding her, instinct took over. Energy rose from her bloodline, not fully controlled, but powerful. She flung it outward, knocking a rogue alpha off his feet. Wolves scattered, eyes wide, sensing the raw force she wielded. Kalen's gaze met hers. "Use it," he commanded. "Do not hold back." She did not. The battle raged, chaotic and brutal. Serafina's energy clashed with rival forces, each surge sending enemies flying. She could hear Kalen behind her, commanding, protecting, guiding, but she was no longer helpless. The bond pulsed, not just linking them but amplifying her strength. Every attack, every motion was shared, every breath, every heartbeat aligned. For the first time, she understood. When the dust settled, the attackers were gone, retreating into the forest. Wolves howled victory, yet the toll was visible. Wounded lay on the ground, the earth marred with claw marks and energy burns. Kalen approached Seraphina. His golden eyes, fierce even after the fight, softened when they met hers. "You did well," he said quietly. She stammered, chest heaving. "I didn't know I could—" "You can," he interrupted. "Because of your bloodline, because of the bond, and because you chose to act, not hide. That is what makes you powerful." She felt a mixture of pride and terror, pride that she had survived, terror at the knowledge that enemies would come again, and that next time the stakes might be higher. Later, alone in the stronghold, Kalen brought her to the balcony overlooking the forest. The wind carried scents of the fallen attackers, and the pack's patrols moved silently below. "They will return," Kalen said, "and they will come stronger. You need to master your bloodline before that day comes." "I don't even know what—" To start," she admitted. He studied her for a long moment. "Then I will teach you, but understand this. The bond is not just between us. It is a guide, it is protection, and it is the key to surviving what is coming. You are more than a hidden secret now, Seraphina. You are the catalyst." The words sank in. Catalyst. She realized that she had never been truly ordinary, never been able to hide from destiny. The moment Kalen learned the truth, their lives had changed forever. Blood had been promised, and the promise would demand fulfillment. "I'll try," she whispered. "You will," he said firmly, "or others will die. And I will not let that happen." As dawn approached, Seraphina felt the bond pulse gently, no longer alarming, only steady. Kalen remained by her side, silent, watching the forest, waiting. She finally understood the reality. Enemies would come. The truth of her bloodline could not remain hidden. And the Alpha King, her Alpha, would not rest until all threats were eliminated. And when they returned, as they inevitably would, Seraphina would not be powerless. Because she had the bond, because she had the Alpha, and because she had no choice but to fight. The morning sun spilled over the northern forest, golden and blinding after the long night of battle. Seraphina awoke to the hum of the bond, a gentle pull reminding her that Kalen was near, even if he had left the chamber. She swung her legs off the bed, determination settling over her like armor. Today she would learn. Kalen found her in the training yard, the pack already gathering. Wolves stretched, shifted into human forms, and moved with quiet readiness, their eyes flicking to her with curiosity and respect. She was no longer just a human hiding in shadows. She had shown her power, and now they waited to see how far she could go. "Today," Kalen said, voice low and commanding, "you will learn to control what is within you. Instinct alone is dangerous. Raw strength is dangerous. Only mastery will keep you alive." Seraphina nodded, chest tightening. She could feel the energy coiled within her, a living thing she had barely begun to understand. The bond pulsed gently against her heartbeat, guiding her, urging her to focus. The first lesson was simple: control through awareness. Kalen led her through the motions, demonstrating how to sense energy, channel it, and release it deliberately. "You will not fight them all," he explained, "but you can control what is near you, direct it. Let the bond protect you, but do not rely on it blindly." Seraphina followed his instructions carefully, raising her hands, directing the pulsing energy outward. It flared, erratic at first, scattering leaves and sending a stray wolf tumbling. "Not bad," Kalen said approvingly, "but do not hesitate. You must own it completely." Hours passed. Sweat dripped down her face, muscles screamed, but the bond hummed steadily, guiding her. Each motion became more fluid, each pulse more precise. She felt her stir, angst, intertwining with Kalen's. not as a leash, but as a shared force. "You re-improving faster than I expected," Kalen remarked, his eyes flicking over her carefully. "But strength alone will not save you. Control will, and understanding." Serafina swallowed hard. "Understanding of what?" "Of the bloodline," he said simply. "Of the enemies it draws, of the lives it touches, of the power it commands." Her stomach clenched. The truth of her lineage was dangerous enough, but now she realized the full implications. She wasn't just defending herself. She was defending the pack, the forest, and Kalen himself. By mid-afternoon, Kalen brought her to a secluded glade. The trees formed a natural barrier, their branches interwoven like a protective cage. Here, he said, they would train against simulated threats. Enemies do not always attack in numbers, he explained. Sometimes they strike with deception. Sometimes they strike with treachery. You must anticipate. You must see through lies. The bond pulsed more urgently. Serafina closed her eyes, letting it flow through her. Images of movement flickered in her mind, wolves leaping, hunters crouching, energy flaring, and she reacted instinctively. A small surge of force knocked a training dummy off its feet. Another redirected an imagined strike, guiding a wolf to safety. Kalen's eyes softened, just a fraction. "You are learning, fast, too fast, perhaps, but good, very good." That night the threat arrived. Shadows moved along. The ridge, silent, calculated. Rival packs, drawn by the rumors of Serafina's bloodline, approached in coordinated silence. Kalen had anticipated this, of course, but now it was time for Serafina to face them in a real test. "Remember," he said quietly, taking her hand for a moment, "the bond is your guide. Trust it. Trust me. Trust yourself." She nodded, heart pounding. For the first time, she realized the bond was not a limitation. It was an amplifier, a force that made her stronger, faster, and more aware than she had ever imagined. The attack was sudden. Rogues leaped from the shadows, claws flashing, weapons glinting under the moonlight. Serafina felt the bond pulse violently, warning her, guiding her motions. She released energy in controlled bursts, scattering attackers, sending them tumbling without causing fatal harm. Kalen fought beside her, movement seamless, as if they were an extension of one another. Wolves moved in perfect formation, responding to her energy, anticipating attacks, protecting the pack. Her heart raced. For the first time, she realized the full power of her bloodline and the bond. When the fight ended, the attackers were gone. No one from the pack was seriously hurt. Kalen turned to her, chest heaving slightly, eyes blazing. "You see," he said, "you are not weak. You are not a liability. You are the reason we survived. Your power, your control is extraordinary." Serafina's knees buckled, relief and exhaustion flooding her. I never knew," she whispered. "I didn't know I could do that." "You have always had it," Kalen said, gently brushing her hair from her face. "But you hid it. Now it is awakened, and it will save us more than once, I promise." The bond pulsed gently, soothing her, connecting them. No fear, only understanding. As dawn broke, Serafina stood beside Kalen on the balcony overlooking the forest. She was no longer the girl hiding from truth, fear, and destiny. She was a warrior, bonded to the Alpha, ready for whatever threat came next. Kalen's voice broke the quiet. "This is only the beginning," he said softly. "Other packs will know, hunters will know, and your bloodline will draw fire. You must be ready." "I am," she said firmly. "With you." The bond hummed between them, steady and unwavering. It was no longer just a connection. It was a promise. And when the next threat came, both would stand together, because the truth had been revealed, because the Alpha knew, and because blood would indeed be promised. The wind howled through the northern forest, carrying the scent of danger. Serafina and Kalen stood atop the main tower of the stronghold, overlooking the valley below. Wolves patrolled the perimeter, but the signs were unmistakable. Rival packs had gathered in force, their numbers greater than anyone had anticipated. "They've come," Kaelin said, jaw tight, golden eyes scanning the horizon. And they're not holding back. Seraphina's chest tightened. The bond pulsed violently, tugging at her senses, warning her, guiding her. She was not afraid, not exactly, but the gravity of the situation pressed down like a living thing. They know about my bloodline, she whispered. They know why I'm here, why I'm dangerous. That's why they came. Kaelin's gaze softened for a fraction. And that is exactly why you must stand with me, or we both die. The first wave hit at dusk. Wolves leapt from the trees, transforming midair with terrifying precision, while Kaelin led the charge, golden eyes blazing like molten fire. Seraphina followed, bond pulsing in rhythm with his energy. She raised her hands, directing bursts of energy outward. Attackers were thrown back, some screaming as the force hit them with enough power to incapacitate, but not to kill. The bond guided her, aligning her movements with Kaelin's. Together, they moved as one, a force neither fully human nor fully beast. The pack fought alongside them, responding instantly to Kaelin's commands. But Seraphina realized something terrifying. If she faltered, if she lost focus for even a moment, the attackers could overwhelm them. Hours passed in a blur of claws, teeth, and energy surges. Seraphina grew more confident with each attack, the bond pulsing gently as if praising her control. She redirected attacks, protected pack members, and struck with precision. Kaelin remained at her side, his presence grounding her, amplifying her strength without overshadowing her. Every time she faltered, his hand brushed hers, or a glance from him steeled her resolve. But then, something unexpected happened. A figure emerged from the shadows. A rogue wolf she recognized from the earlier skirmishes. But this one moved differently, with intelligence, cunning, and malice. He carried a dagger tipped with a substance Seraphina had never seen, enchanted, cursed, deadly. Seraphina, Kaelin growled, noticing the rogue's intent. Behind you! The rogue lunged, dagger aimed at her chest. The bond surged violently, screaming warnings. She twisted instinctively, energy exploding from her palms. The attack was deflected, but not entirely. She felt a sting against her side, shallow but enough to draw blood. Pain surged, but so did fury. The bond pulsed in response, amplifying her power beyond anything she had yet controlled. With a shout, she released a wave of energy that sent the rogue flying into the trees. Kaelin's eyes flared. He stepped forward, energy radiating outward, and the rogue's allies recoiled. But Seraphina wasn't done. I will not be used, she said, voice shaking but strong. I will not be hunted, and I will not be your prey. The bond hummed, connecting them. Kaelin's energy merged with hers, strengthening every strike, every movement. Together they were unstoppable. Wolves and humans alike watched in awe as the alpha and his mate, no, his equal, repelled the attackers. By midnight, the rival packs were retreating, leaving the forest littered with unconscious and defeated rogues. When the dust settled, Kaelin led Seraphina to the inner courtyard. He studied her carefully, golden eyes softening as he took in her bloodied hands and torn clothing. You did well, he said, voice quiet. You controlled your power. You protected the pack. You survived the first true test. I didn't know I could do that, she admitted, chest heaving. The bond. It's stronger than I imagined. Kaelin's gaze softened further. It is more than a bond. It is a promise, and it is only beginning. There are others who will come for you, others who will try to claim what is rightfully yours. And I will be here. Always. Seraphina swallowed. The weight of his words, combined with the truth of her power, was almost too much to bear. But the bond thrummed gently now, steady and reassuring. I understand, she whispered. I am not alone. No, Kaelin said, and you never will be. Blood was promised, and we will ensure it is repaid, our way. That night, the pack gathered around the main fire. Wolves shifted into human form, tending to wounds, strategizing for the next attack, and watching Serafina with newfound respect. She felt different, stronger, more confident, aware of the power that flowed through her veins. Kalen approached, his gaze lingering on her. "The enemy underestimated you. They will not do that again, nor will they underestimate me." She nodded. "I'll be ready." "You will," he said softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "And when they come, they will learn that when the Alpha learns the truth, blood is indeed promised." The firelight reflected in her eyes. She realized then that she had changed. The frightened girl hiding from destiny was gone. The woman standing beside the Alpha, bonded by blood, trust, and power, was ready to claim her place, and together they would ensure that no one could ever threaten them or their bond again. The dawn broke slowly over the northern forest, painting the stronghold in shades of gold and crimson. Serafina stood at the highest tower, wind whipping through her hair, eyes narrowed. The forest below was quiet, too quiet. Her senses tingled, the bond hummed fiercely, pulling at her chest like a living heartbeat. "They're coming," Kalen said behind her, voice low and steady. Golden eyes gleaming with controlled fury, he stepped close, one hand brushing hers. "This is the moment you and I prove that blood promised is blood repaid." She nodded, though her heart pounded in her chest. The bond thrummed violently, linking her to him, binding them together in purpose, in power, in survival. This was the culmination of weeks of training, battles, and revelations. The enemy would not just face the Alpha, they would face her. The attack came as the sun began to rise, shadows moving like living weapons across the ridge. A coalition of rival packs, hunters and rogue lichens, numbering in the hundreds, surged forward. The scent of blood, fear, and anticipation hung thick in the air. Kalen's roar shattered. He silenced, a sound that rolled through the valley and shook the ground beneath their feet. Wolves shifted, leaping into battle with perfect precision, teeth and claws flashing in the sunlight. Serafina followed, bond pulsing like a drumbeat, amplifying her strength. The first wave crashed against them, and she unleashed her energy, not wildly but with precision. Rogue alphas flew backward, stunned by her force. Hunters fell to their knees, their weapons thrown aside. Every motion was guided by the bond, perfectly in sync with Kalen. Hours passed in a blur of chaos. Serafina grew more confident with every strike, channeling the raw power of her bloodline into controlled bursts. The bond pulsed in response, synchronizing with Kalen, linking their awareness, their movements, and their determination. And then she saw him, the ultimate rival, the one who had orchestrated the attacks. A massive alpha, scarred and cruel, exuding dominance. His golden eyes locked on hers, a cruel smirk forming. "So the bloodline awakens," he sneered. "And the Alpha protects what should be mine." Kalen growled low, energy crackling around him. "He will regret stepping onto my land," he said. Serafina's pulse thrummed in tandem with Kalen's. She was no longer afraid. The bond had solidified. Every ounce of her power, every lesson learned, every heartbeat and instinct flowed through her. She stepped forward, energy flaring, eyes locked on their enemy. The rival Alpha lunged. Kalen intercepted him, claws tearing through air, golden energy radiating outward. Serafina followed, unleashing a surge of force that threw the attacker off balance. The two of them moved as one, a storm of claws, teeth, and energy. "You cannot win," she shouted, voice carrying over the battlefield. "This ends now," the rival roared, shifting into full beast form, massive and terrifying. But Serafina felt the bond tighten around her, steadying her, guiding her movements. She struck again, this time with controlled precision, energy hitting the Alpha squarely, forcing him to the ground. Kalen stepped forward, powerful and terrifying, golden eyes blazing. "This is your final warning," he said, voice deadly calm. Leave or be destroyed. The rival scrambled to his feet, fear flickering in his eyes. For the first time he realized the strength not of the Alpha alone, but of the bond between him and Serafina. With a final surge, Serafina released a wave of energy that knocked the rival Alpha off his feet, sending him skidding backward into the trees. He struggled to rise, but Kaelin approached, claws gleaming, and the bond hummed like a drum of inevitability. "You will not return," Kaelin said. "The promise of blood has been fulfilled. You attempted to take what is ours, and now you answer to it." The Alpha coughed, wounded and terrified. He backed away, retreating into the forest with his remaining forces. One by one, the rogue lichens and hunters fled, leaving the stronghold victorious. The battlefield fell silent, broken only by the pack's quiet breathing and the rustle of leaves in the wind. Serafina fell to her knees, exhausted but exhilarated. The bond pulsed gently now, steady, warm, protective. Kaelin stepped beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You see," he said softly, "you are not just a secret to protect. You are a weapon, a force, and together we are unstoppable." She whispered, catching her breath. "I never imagined I could do this, that we could do this." "You have always had it," Kaelin replied, voice gentle but firm. "You just needed to claim it, and tonight you did." Her hands brushed his chest, feeling the steady pulse of the bond. "Blood was promised," she said, "and it has been repaid." Kaelin's lips curved slightly. "Yes, and no one will ever question it again. Not the pack, not rivals, not hunters. This bond, this truth, it has been honored." Later, atop the tower, Serafina and Kaelin stood together, surveying the forest below. Wolves patrolled, shifting between forms, watchful and obedient. The enemy had been repelled, the rival Alpha humiliated and defeated. The bond hummed steadily between them, strong, unbreakable. Kaelin turned to her, golden eyes softened by pride and something deeper. "You are mine," he said quietly. She met his gaze, unafraid, unwavering. "And I am yours, not because the bond demanded it, not because fate forced it, but because I chose you, and because I chose myself." The wind carried their words across the stronghold, rustling through the trees as if the forest itself had heard. Weeks later, peace settled over the northern forest. The pack flourished, stronger than ever, and Serafina trained daily, mastering her bloodline and the bond. Kaelin remained at her side, protector and equal, guiding her without control, respecting her power and will. The enemies would come again as they always do, but now Serafina was ready. The bond had strengthened them both. Blood had been promised, blood had been repaid, and the Alpha and his mate stood unchallenged. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Kaelin took her hand in his. The bond pulsed gently, steady, protective. "Whatever comes next," he said softly, "we face it together. No one can break this. No one can take what is ours." Serafina squeezed his hand, feeling the strength, the love, the bond between them. Together, she agreed. Always. The forest was quiet, but the promise of blood remained, not as threat, but as legacy, an unbreakable bond between Alpha and mate, protector and warrior, truth and destiny. And together they were unstoppable. More stories will keep coming, so please don't forget to like and subscribe.